Okay, so I got some inboxes regarding my DeCentering Men post that I did. And of course, there was some questions. I actually got a couple from two guys that I know, and about three, maybe even four from some women. Completely different perspectives. Of course, the men were questioning, well, what do you mean? You trying to get rid of men, da 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 da. I mean, men should be the center, this and that. And actually, one of them, I will say, he was more in agreement. He just had one question, but the other two were, well, what do you mean? I mean, we're in relationships. You should be the center, da 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 da. And then on the other side of that, from the women, one was a younger woman, one was a middle-aged woman, around my age, and they both are self-confessing feminists. I am not a feminist, and actually, I talk about that in my book as well. I'm not anti-feminist, but I am not a feminist. I'm more of a womanist. I believe in upholding women's issues, and instead of like being in competition with men, we're more collaborative with men as equals. That pretty much is the crux of being a womanist. But anywho, so the women were saying that, well, you seem to still be centering men in what you're saying. I mean, even the whole post, we're talking about men, that still is a type of centering of men. Okay, now these are feminists. Okay, so let me explain my perception of decentering men. First of all, let me get one thing straight. I love I love men. I love a man. I mean, I'm sorry. I like being up under a man. I like the affection of a man. That's like my love language. I like being in a relationship, all of that wonderful stuff. But see, one of the things that we have to realize is that 2 to 3 things can happen at the same time. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. In order to do one, you can't do the other, da 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 da. Absolutely. As far as from the men's perspective, just as what I said in that previous post that I did, that video post, go back and definitely watch it. Men do want women who are not centering them. When I'm talking about centering, I'm not saying that you're not making the man a priority in your life. I'm saying that this person is your center. When you think about the center, you actually think about your heart. Your heart is considered the central part of your body, your makeup, and all of that. And usually if you ask a person, what is your center? They'll say something about their heart. Now, if your heart is gone, what the hell's going to happen to you? You gonna die. Exactly. So when I'm talking about decentering, I'm talking about where we are not so dependent on the other individual to where we cannot survive without them. Okay, and you will be amazed at how many relationships are operating like that, where the other person that actually is called codependency, and I talk about that in my book. That we have to be careful about not having codependent relationships, because then we do a lot of that group think, like we can't function on our own, and that's very dangerous, because for one thing, as women, when we get ourselves in a position like that and we have children still to take care of, then our children end up losing out, because again, that man can die, he can leave us, he can whatever. He can get sick or ill. If we don't know how to function without our heart, then guess what? We're done for it. So we cannot make the men our heart. And so then on the other side of that argument with the women, and I will say one of them was a lesbian. So that was coming from a lesbian feminist perspective, and the other one was not. But they both commented that my post was still about centering men. Okay, again, I love men. Okay, I love being in a relationship. I love the affection of a man. I like being up under my man. Okay, when it's that time. However, there's also that independent part of me as well, that I think that any woman who is an independent, she has to be able to function outside of that. that there is a time and a place. Your quiet time with your man, da 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 da. So a lot of women are in business with their men. They can still maintain that femininity, but in another sense, they still have to remain professional. They still have to remain and have their own agency about them, their own professionalism. I have actually seen people in the workplace, very unprofessional, who work together and their relationship is very chaotic because, again, they're centering each other too much. I love to be pampered by my man, as I've shared even before. I love the gifting is one of my love languages, and acts of service, affection, all of that. And that's what men have to understand, that a woman can maintain her independence, meaning that she is not going to depend on you to live, that she's not going to go off somewhere and die because you're no longer in her life, or like many women do, go into a depression, become suicidal, can't function. Then they're no good for their children. And then for men, they're no good for your children. And so that's pretty much what I'm talking about when I'm talking about decentering men, and even decentering people in your life, because sometimes even codependence, period. Codependent personalities do this with people across the board, where they make people their center, where they almost cannot function. They can't even have other relationships outside of this other person who they're codependent on, or who have just put their fangs into them. I do not like that. I'm not that person. I have my girlfriends, I have my friends, I have my various things that I like to do, my travels. I'm going with or without you, that type of stuff. And some people who are those codependent type of personalities, they may not like that, and they'll see you as, maybe flighty or cold or this, because you have your own life outside of them. So we need to appreciate that independence and not centering people so much in our lives to where we cannot function without them. So I hope that cleared up some of what I was sharing about the whole decentering men from a woman's perspective, and even from an independent woman's perspective. Peace.